What's happening, baby? I have a grilled mushroom pesto pizza for you today. It's gonna be a little labor intensive, but don't worry, it's all gonna be worth it. We're gonna add a little bit of yeast and warm water to a bowl, and then we're gonna go ahead on and stir it with our fingers. Oh yeah, baby, we getting our hands dirty. Then we're gonna add a little bit of oil. We're gonna go ahead on and give that a little bit of stir. Then we're gonna add about 1 cup of flour to that same mixture, and we're gonna go ahead on and give that a stir until it's nice and smooth. Make sure you wash your hands before you do this, please. If you want to be cute, you can always use a spoon. Now to another bowl with some flour, we're gonna go ahead on and add some sugar and some salt. Stir that together to make sure they all combined and friendly. And then after about 5 minutes, you'll see that that yeast mixture starts to bubble up a little bit. Then that's time for you to add that flour mixture into that. I'm not going to use my hands because it's going to feel like paper mache, but we're just going to stir that together until the dough starts to clump up. Now you'll notice as you do this that all of the dough isn't coming together. Do not be scared. We're going to roll that up. Long as your dough looks something like this, a hot ass mess, it'll be fine because we're going to roll it out on this flour board, and all of that dough is going to come together. Now it's going to take about 60 times for you of kneading this dough to get it perfectly, and once you get to the point where the dough is nice and beautiful, you'll notice that the dough is nice and smooth. I have no idea what I was just doing with the bottom of that dough, but once your dough is nice and smooth, roll it into a ball and it'll look just like this. You're good to go. Then you're going to oil a bowl with some more oil, and then what you want to do is you want to take the dough and put it top side down so you can make sure that you cover the dough with some oil, and make sure that it doesn't have any cracks in it as it rises. That's very important, especially with pizza dough. Cover it with a towel and place it in a warm spot. Check my recipe for my tip on how I do this year round. Always have a warm spot. While that's rising for 40 minutes to an hour, we're gonna make our pesto. So we're gonna add some basil, some garlic, some lemon zest, and also we're gonna throw in some lemon juice. Oh yeah, no part of this lemon is left behind. Then we're gonna also add some salt, chili flakes, and black pepper, and then we're gonna also add some shredded Parmesan. Now with the blender on low, I'm gonna start to drizzle in my oil, and as the oil starts to get to the bottom, you'll notice that the mixture starts to smoothen. That's a good sign for you to turn up your blender a little bit more at a high speed so you can blend it until it's nice and smooth. It takes about 30 seconds. Look at how beautiful that pesto looks. You're gonna have this in your fridge, I promise you. This pesto so far, you're just gonna have this in your fridge and find places to put your pesto on. I can guarantee that. All right, so now that our pesto is made, let's use our mushrooms. I've used white button, shiitake, and oysters here. You can use any variety of mushrooms that you want. I like to take the stems out of it because sometimes the stems are tender and sometimes they're not. So I'm not gonna chance it, all right? So you're gonna take all the stems off and just go ahead on and slice down all of your mushrooms, all right? After you finish doing that, we're gonna put a healthy serving of oil in our skillet. Oh yeah, all of that oil. That's why in the recipe I say avocado oil. We're using a healthy fat. Say it with me, healthy fat. Then we're gonna add our mushrooms and some salt, and then we're gonna go ahead on and cook this down for about 8 minutes, all right? You want to keep stirring occasionally just to make sure nothing's sticking. But after about 8 minutes, you notice how all that mushrooms cook down to little old this. Transfer that to a bowl or a plate lined with a paper towel so that it can actually drain. Now that your dough has risen, go ahead on and punch it down. And then let's get ready to put this into our baking sheet. So you want to take a baking sheet and you want to oil it nice and heavy because you don't want your dough to stick at any point, all right? So go ahead on and just smear it all the way over, all around your baking sheet. All right, get it in every crevice and corner. Then lightly dust a surface, and then what you want to do is you want to flatten your dough into a disc, and then you're going to do this little technique almost like you're being a DJ, where you're just going to shape the dough so it can get into a nice disc shape. All right, this helps relax the dough so that we can stretch the dough later. All right, then you pick it up and let gravity do all the work as you turn it like you're driving your steering wheel. Okay, then put it into your baking sheet and then go ahead on and stretch that dough, mold that dough into its position to where you want it to be. All right, if you don't get a perfect mold, don't trip. That's the beauty of a homemade dough. If your dough tears at any place, just pinch it together. All right, now we have to do a second rise. Cover it again with that same old towel and then place it in a warm spot for 40 minutes until your dough rises. All right, and make sure at this time you go preheat your grill to 500 degrees. Now, after our dough has finished rising a second time, you will notice that it's got nice and fluffy. It look all good and tender. And then to make sure your dough is risen, we're just gonna go ahead on and poke our fingers in it, all right? And this helps release the air from it, but at the same time, this is our way of creating our 1-inch border so we can have our crust. Some people like to use a fork to do this, but I find just using your fingers is beautiful for doing the exact same job, all right? Then go ahead on and sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese, and then go ahead on and dot your pesto. I like to put my pesto in little blobs all over the place and then smear it all over, okay? You never know how much pesto you really want until you're making the pizza, so it's all up to you. Then we're gonna go ahead on and add our fresh sliced mozzarella cheese, because the fresh sliced mozzarella gives us a better melt than that stuff in the bag, okay? Everything has its place in this world, people. Then we're gonna go ahead on and sprinkle our mushrooms evenly over and hit it with another coating of our Parmesan cheese, all right? Now let's go ahead on and pop this into our grill. We're gonna pop this in our 500-degree grill for about 10 to 12 minutes closed. While this is baking, you wanna go preheat your broiler on high on your oven. After 10 to 12 minutes, take your pizza out, and let's go ahead on and walk it inside so I can show you why we need to do the broiler. As you can see, the bottom is beautiful and golden brown, but the top still isn't all the way finished, and we still need to get that cheese bubbling brown. Pop that in your broiler for about 1 minute or until it comes out looking like this. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's a work of art. That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. All right, so after your pizza is finished cooking and the cheese got that beautiful bubbling brown on it, and you see the top of the crust is golden brown, slide it out of your baking sheet and then check underneath just to make sure that it's nice and cooked. It's beautiful. Then go ahead on and cut it into whatever size pieces you want to. All right, this is perfect for parties, family gatherings, or just because you feel like having some pizza that you made. All right, cut it and then look. That's exactly why we use fresh mozzarella cheese. You can find a recipe link down below. Don't let your pizza get too cold because you want to enjoy it. Go to KenneTemple.com for the recipe, and I'll see y'all next time, baby.